Welcome to this month's Fire Chief's video message for the month of September 2015. This month's guest is firefighter Emmett Winston, Station 26.
Yes, sir.
Emmett, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, Chief.
So, what brought you here today?
Just wanted to get my foot in the door. Just trying to get, with being on the job only 2.5 years, I want to get my foot in as many avenues as I can. And when you sent the email out, I jumped on it as a hunch. A little bit scared, saying, okay, I have less than 5 years. What can I possibly do? But, you replied, and I'm here today. So thank you.
And I got a bunch of responses back in June. I have people lined up through January. As I said, everybody has a spot here at the table because everybody brings a part of MCFRS to the table, from the civilians, from the experienced firefighters to somebody with 2 years or the such. We're all part of the MCFRS 2,600 people, and I really appreciate the motivation as we've talked offline about your interest in recruiting and your interest in being involved in more things with MCFRS. So thank you for coming, and I appreciate your questions, which we'll get to in a second.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Well, Chief, with this being the September monthly Chief meeting, do you have any recognitions to give out or to say?
It is. Usually I have a queued up list. As soon as I videotape the last message, I get an email about something and I say, well, I'm going to use that for next month. I have some of those already, and one of the things, as we'll talk later on about fleet, is I want to recognize the mechanics, the crew chiefs, all the people central maintenance who keep our apparatus rolling. A little over 200 rigs that they're maintaining, while we all wish we could be better, and I know they want to be better, and they know they can be better. I just have to give them the resources. And right now we're advertising for more positions, more mechanics, another crew chief, another parts person, as well as a manager. If you have somebody, yourself, if anybody in our MCFRS family knows of somebody who's in that trade, auto mechanic or heavy truck mechanic, absolutely refer them to Chief Houston.
Okay.
Make them look out for that advertisement, because clearly fire truck and EMS unit maintenance is a specialized skill. We got a good resource, we got a good facility, and do believe that we want to attract great candidates, and would love for our own family to reach out to their friends and family. So anybody who has interest or a friend that's interested, talk to Chief Houston and get some more ideas. Okay.
Yeah, CMF, I feel, is our backbone to our department, and without them, we're unable to function. This month, something actually big is happening this month. So would you like to talk about that and what's coming up?
September is 14, brings us to 14 years from the 9/11 attacks at Trade Center, the Pentagon, and out in western Pennsylvania. There's no doubt that each of those events and the collective events them together changed our nation, changed how we operate as a nation, changed our posture to activities.
Of course.
Made us, while the first World Trade Center attack was a precursor to the second one, 9/11 changed our approach that we are a target. We need to think about that as a component to our risk assessment, and we have to assume that as one of the major components, only second probably to New York City, that the DC metro area is of a keen interest to folks that have bad intentions, and we had to react to that. So, on 9/11 we sent resources to the Pentagon. We had a firefighting task force there for multiple days as that fire burned in the outer rings and in the upper roofs. But at the same time, we deployed the Urban Search and Rescue Task Force. I was a logistics specialist and manager at the time on the task force. And driving up 395 from Springfield to see a huge column of smoke up ahead and no traffic on the road anywhere around you was definitely a memorable moment to that day. Second to my memories of standing on the streets in front of the Murrah building in Oklahoma City a little bit prior to that. So there's no doubt each of us will remember where we were that day, what we were doing, what we may have done with our family as well as with our work family shortly after that day. And it's not if, it'll be a when. There will be something else. There will be other things. We're constantly hearing about different components in the law enforcement that articulate thwarted plots or things that are being uncovered. But operationally, we've changed since 2001. There's no doubt that we were just on the cusp of rolling out our 800 megahertz radio system.
Okay.
At the time, we couldn't talk to many people outside of Montgomery County. A lot of our technology was already on the shelf or in-house, and that's what was sent to other places, specifically New York, to help bolster their operations and then replenished by Motorola. But now throughout the region, everybody's on 800 megahertz radio. While if you don't change the channel a lot on the radio, you can't successfully. But you know, our folks now can switch to PG with one click.
Yeah.
Fairfax, DC, you know, everywhere around us, we can do that interoperable radio components with the same device that you're wearing and not have a second portable. Critical.
Yep.
We have to use it, but it's there and available for us. We've gotten a lot more resources, both as far as detection technology, as well as protection capabilities. Things that we did not have in place at 9/11. At 9/11, we had one hazmat unit.
Wow.
2007, 2008, with Chief Carr's vision, is when we added our second hazmat unit and added our second capability there. So that's definitely things that have improved. But at the same time, we collectively, and I say we, identifying ourselves as the COG fire chiefs, or the Council of Governments fire chiefs, have built a robust system of committees and folks that are the lead in training or technical rescue or senior ops or communications or EMS, and they meet on a monthly basis and they interact and share information together. So all of that coordination prior to a big event is ongoing every day. And when we do have the big event, be it the next train crash or the next terror attack, our interactions with each other, both human one-on-one as well as organization to organization, are rehearsed as well as practiced, and that makes a big difference, because if you can't prepare for it, then you won't be able to react properly to it. So a lot has changed since September 11th for sure.
Yep. During that tragedy, I guess, what do you say DFRS was like a main learning point from that? Because I know that day was a tragedy and everything was hectic. You had everybody going which way. What did we learn from that as far as operational functionality, radio transmissions?
It's balance your resources and balance your requests.
Okay.
While there's a lot of requests that may occur to go help others, we also have to look within our borders, within our 500 square miles, and balance what our capacity and capability is. Anytime we have a surge event like this, we have people that come back to work, towards that recall initiative, as well as additional volunteer support that comes in and provides capacity. And we always have to ensure that we can answer our 911 call successfully and within our right resources before we can commit resources outside of the Montgomery County. And that's a strong thing, that you have to sit back and relax and take a deep breath for a second and look at what can we do to help our friends and neighbors while still maintaining the services within the borders. And that's a big thing. That's a learning curve for those that are in that position. You on the fire truck, not you specifically, but the guys and gals on the fire truck, would be glad to hear, yep, we're being dispatched to, and just go and do it. But at the same time, we have to realize that, everybody within the county, the million or so people, we have to be able to support them. So.
Okay, well, that's pretty good, Chief. Just moving along to a couple ideas or questions, excuse me, that I came up with just talking to fellow firefighters and EMTs. The big thing is a lot of us have less than 5 years on or less than 10 years on. Most of the department is under the 10-year mark. And now that you've taken over the helm as the chief, and congratulations on that, what is your goal or plan sticking with the department's mission statement?
Great question. There's no doubt that as we've had some double recruit classes and we've gone a couple years without recruit classes, the age of the department does fluctuate and does get younger. I think the number last year in calendar year 14 was 92 competitive or 90 some competitive promotions in 1 year. So that means from master firefighter rank up to the division chief rank, there was like 92 promotions made because of roughly 50 some personnel who exited the drop in just 12 months time. That was our spike. Was the highest element over the last several years, and when we look out, we always forecast out 3 years, and we don't anticipate that number again. We know we're going to be about in the 20s and 30s as far as deferred retirement exits. But as far as the mission statement, I want to take a quick second and just highlight, the mission is to protect lives and property and the environment with a comprehensive set of programs for safe, efficient, and effective emergency response provided by skilled career and volunteer personnel representing Montgomery County's diverse population. So it's diverse, it's comprehensive, it's a hybrid of personnel, career and volunteer, and we have to figure out what our risks are. And those are always changing. Almost all of those components change. We've made a lot of changes. Lieutenant Kennedy sat here just recently talking about what we're changing in recruiting. You've been involved in that. What we're changing on the hiring process and some of the steps, or as I would say, removing some of the cliffs in the hiring process. How we go about deploying our personnel, we're reevaluating. My core job is to provide you resources to do your job and to provide the resources to the citizens. So my job is to provide the resources, both hard assets as well as direction and guidance. So as we look at what we need to do is we need to provide the resources to answer that 911 call. That starts with training, that starts with tools and equipment. Then that moves into guidance, or what we would often refer to as policy. Having the policy and direction as to what to do when that bell rings. There's a lot of work going on. Chief Jones and I are managing a move to consolidate several policies together and make things more synced up with each other, because some things are dated. And as we do that with policy, we also have to understand, as we've pushed a lot of information out, is that we have to embrace and incorporate technology. We, as the fire service, have to understand that what we got taught 20, 30 years ago for some of us is being rewritten by science, being debunked and changed by technology. I was watching some videos from the ISSI last night about Size Up as well as Slicers RS and FlowPath, and we've done a lot with that. We need to continue with that, because that can't be just a hot topic for a short period of time. That's something that everybody has to understand. You as a lineman or you as an engine officer need to understand the different roles that you play in that scenario. And then you as a chief officer have a different role in evaluating that. So we have to look at our mission and its comprehensive set of programs, starting off with training, starting off with recruiting and retention, then moving into the right equipment, and then moving into the right policies component. I believe we got a lot of good people that are supporting the right equipment, the right resources, and when we get all three of those groups together, we'll be very successful in being able to answer that 911 call. We don't know what it is. It may be a service call, and it may be the next 911. And each one of those times the bell rings or the station alerting goes off, you have to rely on our training and go backwards. So that's what we're looking at, and we will see some things coming out shortly from those perspectives.
Do you have any, I guess, big or major goals that you want to see us get to by a certain time?
I'd like to work on redeploying our EMS services. We've talked about it. We've termed it ALS chase cars. I actually, it's more descriptive and accurate to articulate it as redeploying paramedics to a paramedic engine companies supported by chase cars.
Okay.
If our core delivery model for ALS is the paramedic engine company and supported in areas of dense EMS call load with ALS chase cars, the residents at station 10 or 11 in an area where you work at times, will have ALS for first response coming from their station as opposed to 2 or 3 stations away. That's my primary element. We're dealing with another wave of budget adventures. We've made some cuts this year in FY16. We will be potentially faced with some cuts with FY17. That will delay my ability to implement the chase car transition and the paramedic engine company expansion, but that's what we're continually striving towards. And when we complete that, then we need to look at EMS capacity. When we complete that, then we need to look at 4-person staffing on our special services. So those are our priorities. Strategic plan is on quick links. Take a second to look at it. Anybody, everybody, understand what it says, because it says what we want to try to do. It says what our limitations are with funding. And it was updated as of the end of July when the budget adjustments were made. So the strategic plan's out there. Everybody take a second to look at it.
That's good. That's good. Now that us field personnel actually have something to look forward to and kind of keep our eyes on the prize type thing. Referring back to what was formerly known as CMF, it's now the new Public Safety Logistics, and PSL for short. They're doing a real huge, big build out up there. We're consolidating all of our logistics, the fleet, services. The police is going to have a portion of that building. What do you see as, I guess, a challenge or improvement of keeping everything at one centralized location within the, I guess, a center or heart of the county?
So an improvement is it's going to be a one-stop shop. It's going to be a campus. The challenge, it's going to be a one-stop shop. It's going to be a campus. So timing looks like we're going to be latter October before we move in completely. Some delays with the building process, and those are being worked on. But no doubt, as we've talked about, what's at Dover Road for logistics will be there. What's at the SCBA shop will be there. What's at Quince Orchard Boulevard for radios and NBC will be there. So when you get there, and if you need a belt, may that be a uniform belt or a fire apparatus, belt for a fan, or if you need a radio strap belt, you're going to get it from one place, all in the building. If you need a shoe, a brake shoe, a turnout, or a shoe for your battery charger, all of it's going to be at the same place. Hoses, as an example, if you need EMS suction tubing, or if you need a brake hose, or if you need a piece of a tack line, all in one place. And Rockville is beneficial because it is central. There is the benefit of being able to, with limited amount of travel from most parts of the county, to get there. And again, instead of stopping at Dover, going across the street to South Lawn, and then if you had a radio issue, go up to Quince Orchard Boulevard, they're all going to be in one place together. So that's what the improvements are going to be for everybody in the field to be able to have a one-stop, a campus component. Limitations, or challenges, it's going to be a one-stop place. It's going to be an expansion of folks working together that are going to be co-located. Hours of operation, the flow of how things work there, the fact that similar to the PSTA and communications, it will be, as you mentioned, a joint campus between police and fire rescue. My email the other day was identifying the fact that we've coined it Public Safety Logistics, or PSL, and that come October, November, when it's finalized, there will be more information coming, and the staff there, Leslie Maxim, Steve Lamphere, Eric Houston, the soon-to-be hired fleet maintenance supervisor, all of those folks will be working together to get things melded together, because there'll be bumps, there'll be things that get changed. We have to expect that. But with the leadership from both Chief Reynolds as well as myself when we first started this process a little bit ago, now we've gotten through the build out Now we're getting through the final punch list components. We'll have a good operation there together, and as such.
Okay, well, staying in lines with public safety logistics, you've talked about in your recent messages about the new ambulances, new ladder trucks, things of that nature. And like I said, with most of us only having 10 years or less, our ambulance is our friend. That's where we're normally at, either A1 or A2. So what is an update on the ambulance intake, or where we at? Where do we stand with the new ambulances and tiller trucks?
Yep. Ambulances, the first one's in. People at 32 are in, 3rd Battalion. I've seen it. They're knocking the bugs off of it. They did a few punch list things, and the other ones have started their process. The other ones, I'm referring to another 29. A good majority of those are going to be, I think it's 14 of them will be in by Christmas, and then the other remaining 15 or so will be, shortly after Christmas and the beginning of the new year. There's no doubt that since we haven't bought EMS units since 2010, buying 30 of them at once will be a great infusion into the fleet, and they do have some good safety enhancements built into these PL custom units that will benefit all the providers. Added protection in the back, as well as different environmental components, as well as headset systems from the front and back communication. And the elements of compartmentalization and designing that so that they're safe. There's no doubt that we have to sacrifice our seatbelt and our restraint systems at times for patient care, and everything we can do to support that, we must do. Ladder trucks, again, at the beginning of the year, we should be seeing the 3 TDAs roll in. 2 tankers, 1 rescue squad, 1 all-steer tower, as well as 4 or so all-wheel drive engine companies. That's the hit list of apparatus from the FY15 budget. Okay. The FY16 budget deals with 8 to 10 engine companies and another slew of vehicles. Okay. So there's a lot of foot with apparatus specifications. The engine subcommittees started ramping up because they're in the process of writing a spec for a new engine company. Our last spec and contract has expired, so we will not be specifically using the same contract and specification as before. They're having discussions about what the engine will be, and some of the components of the engine. Standardized engine is critical in my viewpoint. For every person to be able to walk up to the engine company and see a green hose line on the back of the engine and know that what diameter that is and what distance that is, that's critical, because that's time and confusion. And when confusion happens on the fireground, things just start to trickle the wrong way. So standardized inventory, standardized capacity of hose and deployment model of the hose is important. Clearly, between 2008 and what will probably be 2016, there will be differences in what the vehicle is. It may not be this make, it may not be that model, but the vehicle will still have the same capacities, still have the same safety design features. So that's what's on the horizon with the fleet section.
That's nice. Okay, I don't have anything else, Chief. Did you have any other updates or comments that you'd like to throw in for the September meeting?
So as we roll into September, we're already in the office talking about the FY17 budget, as I mentioned. It's an element that we will get processed in the September timeframe, the December timeframe, and then working with OMB and the executive staff. So that process and discussion is ongoing in conjunction with both labor unions, the IAFF and the MCVFRA. Staff's working on term negotiations for renewal of those 2 different contracts, and that'll take a good portion of some of my staff's time this fall, and then continue to roll out and present a revision to that policy. I may have said it here before, I actually forget if I have. We're dropping the word safe off the safe structural firefighting SOP. That's just a bad term to apply to something that cannot be effectively and always safe. Clearly, our policy is to provide us the best working environment and to do it in the safest ways possible, but It is an incident response policy. It's a structural fire response policy. We'll identify it as that going forward. But that's a lot of work that's going on with the folks. So next month, Battalion Chief Kevin Frazier from the Fire and Explosive Investigations sits down with me. As of the beginning of this week, FEI moved from the Division of Risk Reduction and Training to the Operations Division and became underneath the Special Operations section. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll talk about some of the capabilities of what FEI does and some of the changes that have occurred in FEI and about the last year or so.
Okay.
So Kevin will be here next month.
Okay.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate the questions and the time you took with the folks back at the stations to put some thoughts together. And again, that's the goal of having a guest is to bring ideas that you want to hear about, and you collectively representing everybody out there. So thank you much.
Thank you, Chief.
So thank you all for joining us for this month's September's video message. And as we roll out of summer and into the fall, school buses are out there. Always take care of driving around the buses and the kids, because they're not focusing on roadway safety as they always should. Take care, be safe, and thanks for joining us.